So in this movie, we're going to finish our function tutorial here. This is the third movie, and we're going to take the code that we've already generated in the last movie, and we're going to use that in our banner. So copy that, Command N for new. We're going to go to the add, we'll go to the banner size, 300 by 250. Make sure you're in HTML5 canvas. We'll create that. We're going to need 3 layers altogether, so I'll add 2. Top layer is going to be called Actions. And in here we'll go to the Actions layer, and we're going to add a couple of returns here and paste our code. I'm leaving this space open because I'm going to be calling out the functions. I'll do a command 1, and while I'm on the layer for the actions, I'll go ahead and lock it so I don't accidentally put something in there by mistake. I love this option. So if I try to draw something, it tells me I can't do it. This layer in here is going to be a wall that we're going to open up and reveal CSUF, the letters, and this will be CSUF. And this is going to be the CSUF button. Okay, so let's go create our artwork. We'll select blue. That's a good blue. No stroke, or rather no line. So let me get rid of the stroke option in here. And I'll click and drag a rectangle. I'll select the line, and I'll draw diagonally where my wall is going to open up. And this is going to slice it. That's what that does. So let's put it back. First thing I want to do is an F8. Make sure that this is a movie clip. Make sure that that's centered. I'm going to go ahead and call this wall L for left. I'll do the same thing to this one. F8. That'll be called wall R for right. Make sure it's centered. Make sure it's a movie clip. Okay, so if I run this, sometimes you see like a little weird gap in there, and I don't want to see that gap. So, and it's not just the stroke. Let me delete that and show you. It's still got that weird little line. So to get rid of that, I'm going to move this over, nudge it over 1 click to the right. I'll click on this one, and I'll nudge this 1 click to the left. And let's see what that looks like. So that takes care of the gap. So our wall is set. Okay, so now we need to name these. So this is going to be wall capital L underscore MC for movie clip. Steal that. Click on this one. Paste that. Change the L to an R. Okay, so we're ready to start programming. We'll come back over here to our code. And I know I'm going to be moving around, so if I click over here, this all disappears. So I want to hang on to this view, so I'm going to pin it open. Okay, so now I need to figure out my function callout. So I'm going to cheat this way by giving me prompts in terms of what I'm modifying. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to modify is the wall. Whoops, helps if I copy it from here. So it's going to be the wall, but don't forget you need the word this before it, followed by a period. And this one over here is the left one, and this one over here is going to be the right one. So we'll change that to a capital R. So now I need to figure out how far it's going to open. So I'll click on this one over here, and I'm going to move this over, and I'll move this one here, and I'll move this over like that. So I'll click over here on the left, and I'll select my X position, copy that, and I'll double click on the X over here, paste that there, and then I'll click over here, and I'll copy the X position over here, and I'll double click there and paste that in. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here, and this is kind of nice. I can click on the stage and do like 3 undos, Command Z, and eventually get it back to where it's closed, and it leaves this code alone. Now, the only thing I'm modifying is the X position, so I don't need any of this stuff over here. So I'll just delete that. And the same thing with this. I don't need any of this stuff over here, so I'll delete that. And I think I'm good to go. And now we're going to see it open up. So the next thing I want to do is I may want to modify the delay. So if you want to wait for the one wall to open at one speed and another wall to open another speed, you can change this to a variable. Now if you want it to be the same variable for both times, you can use the same letter, or you can make this variable t1 and this variable can be t2. Now I could add it to the end of the line over here, but since I'm not modifying any of these other variables, I can actually just add it here. So I'll do that as t1 followed by a comma, and that'll be t2 and followed by a comma. Now in here, I can come in here and do a comma. And so this wait in here, the first wait, let's have it wait the 1 second that it had originally, and then followed by a comma. And now this is going to determine the speed, how long this lasts. So we'll let this last 2 full seconds. So it's going to wait a second, then it's going to take 2 seconds to open up. This one over here, we're going to have it wait a little bit longer. So we'll have it wait at 1500, so half a second off. And this one will move a little bit faster. So we'll make this, we increased it by 500, we'll decrease this one by 500, so that's going to make it 1500 as well. And so they're going to be opening at different times, but they all add up to the same amount, so they should be finished with their animation at the same time. So T1, T2, T1, T2, let's see what that looks like. So they're staggered in how they open. So you have that option for how you want to make your modifications to the animation. Okay, so the other thing that I want to do is I want to add the button. So let's go down to the bottom layer and let's hide the top layer. And just to make it interesting, we're going to click on this stage and change the background color to black. Select my text, select an orange typeface, and impact is fine. Maybe make it a little bit more orange than that. And I'll come over here, type in CSUF, and close this for now. Center it off with my alignment options, and do an F8. This is going to be a button, and I'll go ahead and call this CSUF. Everything's centered, that's fine. Hit OK. While it's selected, I'll call this CSUF underscore BTN. Okay. Now I'm going to go inside it. Got to move the selection tool. I'm going to go to the hit area, do an F6, and I'm going to click a rectangle around the whole area because I want that to be a larger clickable area. Now if I click over here, I can still get to the CSUF. Don't see it because it's orange on top of orange. You can delete it. It really doesn't matter. Don't need it, so I'm just going to get rid of it on that frame. It's still there, and if we test this now, we'll see this thing open up and reveal the CSUF in the background. And now anywhere I click over here, it's a clickable area. But again, I still have to go back and program the button, so let's do that. So I'm going to go back to the main scene, and I'm going to click on my CSUF, and I'm going to go to the window drop-down menu, slide down to the code snippets, and go to HTML5 canvas, and I want to go to actions, and I want to go to web page, and by default it sends it to the Adobe site, so I want that to be Fullerton, and that's got to be edu, and I want to make this self. Okay, so everything looks good. Get rid of the gray stuff, don't need that. I'm going to configure this so that all my callouts to the functions are up on top. So I'll move this up to the very top. Give myself an extra return so it's a little easier to see. And this is pretty traditional. You usually put all your functions on the bottom and all your callouts on the top. And that's a way of setting up your code. And so I think I'm good. Get rid of this extra space. And let's see what that looks like. So opens up somewhat staggered. I think I could use another blue, but that's after the fact. Anywhere I click over here, it's going to launch the Cal State Fullerton web page. And so I'm in business. So if I go back, it's interesting when you go back, it stays open, which is fine. I'm not going to get into adding one last change that closes everything up. There is a way of doing that, but for now, for this exercise, we just wanted to reveal the CSUF link that'll get you to Cal State Fullerton. So there are other things that you can do with this. You don't have to move boxes. Also, if you don't want the text to stagger, we talked about this in the last movie, you can change the ease in and ease out. And the way you would do that is if you go to the Google and you Google CreateJS Spark table, and the first option that shows up are all the choices that you can choose from. And these now reveal what type of options you have. So here's a little preview of back in and back out. You can see that it bounces over. So let's do a circle. You can see that this kind of starts slow and moves fast. Here's a circle out. It does in and out. So I'm going to right click on this, Command C for copy. I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to replace that right there. And now you'll see that the animation is different. So you can experiment that. You see what the door's doing. You can experiment with those options to get different effects. And if you wanted to, you could even create another function. You could take this one for one effect and another function for another effect. The only way you're going to be able to do that, though, is to make a completely new function. So you would do something like this. I'm copying this over, pasting that down. This will be called create1, and this will be create2. Then this is going to call out create1. This will call out create2. And then over here, we'll go back to the Google here. And it looks like I closed that window. Let me open that up again. And so let's try something different. Yeah, so we'll right click on that, copy that, come back over here, and we'll paste that over here. So now we're going to have two different animations on the two different movies because they're calling out two different functions. So let's see what that looks like. So two different reactions, and you have that option. Relatively easy to modify. Okay, so what I'm looking for is the application of the CreateJS. That'll be the third phase of the banner project. And the next project is going to be also a banner project, but we're going to do a parallax effect.